What's up everybody? My name is Scott Paddock and today I'm going to show you a couple different ways to recognize a 2-5-1 chord progression. If you enjoy my YouTube content, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and leave me a comment below with topics that you would like me to cover in future videos. The 2-5-1 chord progression is by far the most popular chord progression in jazz standards. So today, I'm going to show you a couple really easy ways to recognize them when you are reading chord charts. But before I show you how to recognize them, let's do a quick refresher on what a 2-5-1 is. So when we're talking about a 2-5-1, we're talking about modes. So modes are when you play a scale based on each scale degree of your major scale. For example, if I was going to play the G major scale and I'd start on the 1. So I'm playing from G to G with an F sharp. If I played that same scale but I started on the 2, that would be the second mode, known as the Dorian mode. So G, A would be the second mode. So then I would play from A to A in the key of G because we're basing everything off of the key of the 1. So A to A with the F sharp. Now we have 7 notes in the major scale, so we can play 7 different modes. And when you do that, even though you're using the same notes, you're switching up the order of half steps and whole steps, so it turns them into different kinds of scales. So the 3 modes that we want to talk about today are based off of the second mode, the fifth mode, and the first mode. Let's start off by talking about the second mode. The name for that mode is Dorian Minor. And if we're in the key of G and we play from A to A in the key of G, that gives us a flat third and a flat seventh. So we're playing from A to A with just an F sharp. So that would make that scale and that chord minor. So that would be an A minor 7 chord. If we're talking about the fifth mode in the key of G, that would be G, A, B, C, D. And the name for that mode is Mixolydian. So if we play from D to D in the key of G, that gives us a flat 7th, also known as a dominant 7th. So that would be a D7 chord. And then, of course, if we're talking about the 1, that's super easy because that is just based off of the major scale. So in the case of G, that would be a G major 7. So if we're talking about a 2-5-1 in the key of G, we're talking about the Dorian mode based off of the 2, the Mixolydian mode based off of the 5, and the Ionian or major, regular old major scale based off of the 1. And if you put it all together, the chords sound like this. Now let's talk about a couple easy ways to recognize a 2-5-1 when you're playing through chord changes. The first and easiest is to find the progression that goes minor 7, dominant 7, major 7. Whenever you see a chord progression that goes minor 7 chord, dominant 7th chord, major 7th chord, almost all of the time that is going to be a 2-5-1. And what makes it even easier is about 50% of the time when you see a major 7th chord, it's going to be part of a 2-5-1. So if you see a major 7 chord, look back at the 2 chords before it and see if you see a minor 7th chord, a dominant 7th chord, and a major 7th chord. If so, you can be pretty much guaranteed that that is going to be a 2-5-1. If you want to get a lot better at understanding chord progressions, I'd like to invite you to check out the Scott Paddock Sax School. In every song in the improv section, we go over the chords, how they're built, what scales go along with them, and how the chords are related to each other. So it'll take all of the guesswork out of how the chords are related to each other and how to improvise over them. Another really easy way to recognize a 2-5-1 is by using the circle of fifths, or in this case, going counterclockwise, so the circle of fourths. So a 2-5-1 always goes counterclockwise around the circle of fourths. So in the case of the G 2-5-1, we have A, D, G. Those are all right next to each other going counterclockwise on the circle of fifths. And that is the case for any 2-5-1. So if we're doing a 2-5-1 in the key of C, it would be D, G, C. If we're doing it in F, it would be G, C, F. So if you know your circle of fourths pretty well, it's going to be really easy to pick out a 2-5-1. So if you use these 2 strategies in analyzing chords, it's going to be super easy to pick out your 2-5-1s just by the pattern of minor 7, dominant 7th, major 7th, or going counterclockwise on the circle of fourths. Now that you know how to easily recognize a 2-5-1, go back to some of the jazz tunes that you have already been practicing and look at the chord progressions and see if you can find some 2-5-1s. If you can, leave it in a comment below. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you'd like to dive deeper into becoming a better saxophone player, check out the Scott Paddock Sax School.